Do a quick video about some of the pros and cons I've found about using drip irrigation. Been using it for about 3 years out at the Hobart Food Forest. First, it was just in our greenhouse here, which is, I found, one of the best contexts for drip irrigation. Some kale. Especially for crops like tomatoes, cucumbers, mainly those, because some crops you do not want the tops of the plants to get wet. You only want the water to be getting to the roots. There we go, there's some drip action. So it obviously works really well in that context, because this is going to get the water right where you want it to be without it, you know, going everywhere else like it would in a overhead watering context. So I found it works awesome in the greenhouse with tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, squash even. So it works really good for that, because again, the water is only at the root level. It's not watering the tops of the plants or the flowers or getting the fruit wet. So super good for that. And then we also have some out here in this raised bed. Planted out last week. First 2 rows, carrots, row to that, right of that, radish, and then beets. And I finally got the drip irrigation hooked up on this bed, and actually the coverage is pretty good. You don't see a whole lot of dry spots. There's one right there, but overall actually very impressed with the coverage getting as far as water saturation goes on this raised bed. So one of the issues you might come up with, or you might run into with drip irrigation, I found, is it's not going to just really saturate the soil as much as maybe I would like for certain things to you know, germinate more quickly. Things like, you know, carrots that take a while, that really need to consistently keep, you know, moist soil. So one of the things that's really important for proper and somewhat uniform germination when using drip lines is you want to make sure you have your drip lines, or your drip tape I should say, spaced out as evenly as possible, which we did a pretty good job here, as evidenced by basically, you know, probably close to 90% of this bed getting watered right now. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, especially for, you know, root crops that you're not transplanting, that really you know, need that consistent water. So and so that's definitely, again, something to keep in mind when working with drip irrigation. This was pretty easy to set up. We haven't had any issues with the drip tape we've been using in the greenhouse, and that's been in there through years. Even better is when you have it set up on a timer. You don't have to worry about it. And I think for maybe drier, you know, really kind of deserty growing climates, then you probably would want to maybe invest in overhead irrigation, because of just the amount of water things would need in that context. We live in the Pacific Northwest here, zone 8B, and drip seems to work pretty well. I would like to get that bed and that bed both on drip now, in this bed, which will be dripped shortly, onto overhead next year. I just think it would work better, and especially for growing root crops and even things like potatoes, it can just be kind of a hassle or a pain having these drip lines here, especially for things like potatoes. But I mean, if this is all you have access to, it'll still definitely work. There's just some you know, caveats, like I said. But you know, overall I've been, you know, really happy with it. It works amazing in the greenhouse with tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that, and we've had pretty good luck you know, with a few things outside the greenhouse, like peas. It does really well, and it'll be interesting. Maybe I'll make a little update video once these the radish and carrots and beets germinate, just to see, you know, how successful we were germinating, you know, using this drip tape. So just some of the pros and cons I have found with using drip tape. And also note, it was really easy and straightforward to set up this system. I just used a design from Nature's Always Right. Stephen Cornett, I believe is his name. Check him out on YouTube. Has a lot of really awesome gardening videos, things about growing food, stuff like that. And he has a really detailed video about how to get a drip irrigation system set up. So peace, much love.